Delia would get up early every Sunday when the sun began to peek over the corners of our bedroom curtains. During her silent ritual, she moved like a whisper, faint footsteps, coffee mug clinks, and kettle hisses warming up. I used to enjoy waking to the aroma of her chamomile tea and the subtle lilac scent of her shampoo. She would say, "Winmere," and I would nod, half drowsy, but still certain of her. Of us. Then she'd lean over to kiss me goodbye. There was always something going on in the valley where her parents lived, a small hamlet nestled between low hills and wildflower meadows. Everything was broken, and everything needed fixing. And Delia, being Delia, could never resist fixing things. I never asked if that was the kind of man she wanted. I tried to be helpful, trusting, and she would return home in the evening with a pleasant grin, kiss my cheek, and hand me a small box, tucked in a paper bag or wrapped in foil. Her mother's renowned stew. Sometimes I'd find a fresh loaf of bread still warm from the oven alongside my father's pickled beets, and I'd feel like I'd received more than food, like I was receiving a connection, a message, a memory. But something had changed. I wasn't sure when it started, but I could feel it, like the pressure in the air before a storm. Her kisses still came, but they were hurried, hollow. Her smile remained, but dimmer. Maybe it was stress from her position at the company. Maybe she was just tired. Or maybe I had been too preoccupied. I tried to ignore it as you do, but you know how it goes. Deadlines, spreadsheets, and slowly I began to see how much she was carrying. When mistrust is sown, it grows in silence. On Sundays, I'd wake and watch the door after she left, wondering when the house began to feel more empty without her, physically and emotionally. That Sunday started the same. I was still in bed when she began packing the car. I heard the trunk gently thud, then the engine hummed to life. I could have ignored it. Let another week drift by in a haze of assumptions and brief reassurances. But something about the way she avoided looking me in the eye stayed with me. I was sitting in the kitchen when her glance barely met mine before darting away like shame, hoping to go unnoticed. I watched the brown swirl of cream in my coffee. Something inside me decided, quietly but firmly, to go to Winmere. Not to spy, not to accuse, just to bring something. Maybe the food would be a surprise, a loving gesture. Maybe we just needed a fresh start. Maybe if I showed up, she'd realize I was still here, that I still chose her. I packed her favorite sweets in a little box, along with a clean thermos of her mother's tea blend. I brewed it myself. She always turned to the last page of the magazine to do the crossword. I drove slowly. Windermere Valley was almost an hour and a half north, just past Birch Trail. The trip had always felt like too much. But not today. I rolled down the windows and let the autumn breeze in, hoping it would still feel like an exhale. I played the playlist we used on road trips, gentle, nostalgic, golden with falling leaves. I used to sing off-key to old pop songs, and she'd roll her eyes before laughing and joining in. Today, the car was quiet. Halfway there, I passed the diner where we used to get milkshakes. It looked smaller now. I gripped the wheel tighter and drove on, telling myself the memories were just too heavy today. Eventually, I turned down the gravel lane leading to her parents' cottage. My chest tightened, not in fear, but anticipation. I pictured her running to me, surprised, laughing, maybe even relieved. But I paused. I didn't see her father under the porch fixing a pipe. I didn't see her parents in the yard pulling weeds. I couldn't make out the details yet, but I sensed that she wasn't alone. She stood on the porch, glowing in the morning light. But her posture was different, light, free. There was a man, tall, slender, just to the edge of the porch, and a little girl, maybe 3 or 4, leaning comfortably against Delia. The man said something about her chestnut hair catching the light like dashes, and Delia laughed, not politely, but easily. She touched his arm, and I felt my stomach drop. Not from anger, not from jealousy, from recognition. This wasn't just a visit, the way she kissed the child's forehead, the way the child leaned into her. These weren't gestures between friends. This was something established, practiced, intimate. I didn't call out. I didn't drive forward. I just sat there, motionless, the engine humming, music still playing. The basket on the seat had tipped, cider bottle rolling gently, cold moisture seeping into the napkins. I didn't move. I came to bring her something, a reminder of us. But what I found was the unraveling of something I didn't even know had already torn. I don't know how long I sat there. But I do know. When I packed the kitchen that morning, each item had been chosen with care. The banana loaf, warm from the oven. The fresh rolls from the bakery 3 blocks down, soft and golden. The wedge of smoked cheese her father always appreciated. The cider. The tea. It wasn't just a meal, it was a memory. A reach across a widening distance. But sometimes, love isn't enough to bridge what's already lost. And even before I stepped out of the car, I knew my life was about to break. She didn't inquire as to what I meant, but the quiet that settled around the wooden spoon was deafening. She didn't act as though she didn't understand. Instead, she simply looked at me and blinked slowly. I added, pausing. I saw the moment everything fell apart inside her. The little child called you Mama, I continued, when she didn't speak to the man in the cottage. With her fingers shaking as they touched the edge of her teacup, Delia sat down carefully at the kitchen table. She simply looked, vulnerable, and said, without crying, I didn't know how to. Not yet. Her lips parted as if she wanted to protest, to explain, but ultimately she just said, Tell you. That's not an answer. She dropped her eyes and stopped herself. Reed and I aren't together. Not like that. Even though Eva isn't biologically mine, I've been a part of her life since birth. When Ava's father passed away, Reed stepped in to help. I did the same for her biological mother, Maureen, who is one of my closest friends. I couldn't leave that young child who sees me as a second mother. I listened in silence as the tension between us grew, thick with words we had never exchanged. She looked up, and her eyes went glassy. I wanted to tell you, she said. I kept this entire existence, this identity from you, so many times. But I was terrified of what you wouldn't understand. Even though I spoke the words evenly with her breath, they still hit hard. So you'd see it as betrayal, I said. Nevertheless, I was trying to protect what we had, she muttered. I laughed bitterly. Jonah, it's not like that. I didn't plan this. I didn't wake up one day and choose